Hi students, welcome to lesson number 40 on violence against women. Violence against women is a global issue and has a great impact on the society. It is a violation of human rights and form of discrimination. Indian women are the victims of humiliation, torture and exploitation for as long as we have written records of social organization and family life. Today, women constitute 50% of the population of the world and they are no more subordinate or inferior to men counterpart. They are gradually recognized as the most important, powerful and meaningful contributors to the life of men. But when you look into the past, their condition was pathetic and pitiable. Women are the victims of innumerable violence like rape, burnt, murdered, kidnapped, etc. in spite of the legislative measures adopted in favor of women in our society after independence. The objectives of this lesson is to understand what is violence and the types of violence meted to women, and to understand the causative factors creating violence and the various measures to combat violence. Now we will know the concept of violence. Violence may be described as force, whether overt or covert, used to wrest from an individual, that is a woman, something that she does not want to give her own free will and which causes her either physical injury or emotional trauma or both. According to WHO, violence is the intentional use of physical force or power, threatened or actual against oneself, another person or against a group or community that either results in or has a high likelihood of resulting in injury, death, psychological harm, maldevelopment or deprivation. According to Gels, violence is an act of striking a person with the intent of causing harm or injury but not actually causing it. Strauss has described violence as an act where there is a high potential of causing injury. Dominic described violence as an act person which encroaches upon the freedom of another. Campy has used the term violence to physically striking an individual and causing injury. The United Nations defines violence as against women as any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual or mental harm or suffering to women, including threats such as coercion or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or in private life. Now we will understand the various forms of violence meted to women. Violence against women can take several forms and arise in different situations and broadly classified into 4 categories. First one, it is criminal violence that includes rape, abduction and murder. Second one, it is physical violence that includes domestic violence, dowry deaths, wife battery, sexual abuse, ill treatment of widows and elderly women. Third, it is emotional and economic violence which includes insulting, not allowed to engage in any legitimate work nor practices any profession. Next one is social violence which includes female feticides, eve teasing, demanding dowry, honor killing, marriage by abduction or forced marriage, forced prostitution, traffic of women, etc. Now we talk about the violence such as rape. Rape is a kind of sexual assault usually involving sexual intercourse without the consent of the victim. Women are most often the victims of rape, which is usually committed by men whom they know. It is highest among the age group of 16 to 30 years, that is 64%, below 10 years 3%, between 10 to 16 years is 20%. It is not only the poor girl who become the victim of rape, but even the employees belonging to the middle class are sexually humiliated by their employers. Women who come from the lower middle class and who are the main breadwinner of their families bear sexual abuse quietly and without protest. Women who are deaf, dumb, blind and even women beggars are not spared. Women inmates in jails are raped by the superintendents, women suspect by police officers, women patients by hospital personnel, maid servants by their masters, and daily wage laborers by the contractors and middlemen. Women victims quietly face sexual abuse and encounter serious guilt pranks and personality disorder if they complain about the crime. Now we will know the characteristics of rape. Rape does not always occur between total strangers. It is a known or inmate person who commits the crime. Many victims feel emotionally dependent on their assailants. Mostly rape occurs at the victim's or victimizer's home. It is due to the temptation and verbal coercion. Now we discuss about the second type of crime, that is abduction and kidnapping. Kidnapping is the taking away of a person by force, threat or enticing of a minor with intent to cause her to be detained against her will without her consent of the lawfully guardian. Kidnapping is pay for ransom, politically or other purposes. Abduction is a criminal taking away woman by persuasion, by fraud or deceitful or open force with an intent of seducing her for illicit sex or compelling her to marry a person against her will. In kidnapping, intention of the accused and consent of the victim is immaterial, but in abduction, the consent of the person abducted is very much materialistic and is good evidence. Now, what are the characteristics of kidnapping and abduction? First one, it is unmarried girls are likely to be abducted than married women. Abductors and victims are acquainted with each other in a large number of cases. The initial contact between the abductor and his victim frequently occurs in their own homes or neighborhood than in public places. Motive of abduction is sex and marriage. Sexual assaults go with the abduction in more than 80% cases. Absence of parental control and disaffectionate relation in the family are the major reason for the contact between the abductor and the victim, and girls running away from the home with some acquainted person. Third violence is wife battery. Wife battering is formed as the most common practice of domestic violence while humiliating words used by their husbands and their relatives. For a woman who is supposed to be loved and cared by their husband, he in turn batters her for silly or no reason. The violence can range from slaps and kicks to broken bones, torture and attempted murder, and even murder itself. Women suffer humiliation in silence for the cause of being thrown out of home, sent back to parents, or the scare of their own parents refusing to keep her with them. Now, what are the characteristics of wife battering? Wives who are younger to their husbands are the victims of wife battering. Women who belong to 25 years of age, women with low income, sexual maladjustment, emotional disturbance, alcoholic husband, and husbands who are jealous or have inferior complex with their wives. We'll know about the other violence, that is murder. Murder is the unlawful killing of another human without justification or valid excuse. Murder is mainly a masculine crime, and the number of female victims of murder in comparison to male is low. Now, what are the characteristics of murder? Murderers and victims belong to the same family. Murderers belong to the age group of 25 to 40 years. Women victims are in long-standing relationship with the male murderer. The murderer belongs to low-stud occupation and low-income groups. Most of the murders are unplanned and committed in the heat of passion and heated argument. Murder is committed without anybody's help. Domestic quarrels, illicit relations, and women's chronic illness are the main motivation in women's murder. Murder includes three aspects, that is dowry deaths, honor killings, and female infanticides. Dowry death. Dowry deaths are deaths of married women who are murdered or driven to suicide by continuous harassment and torture by their husband and in-laws over a dispute about their dowry, making the women's homes the most dangerous place for them to be. Dowry deaths are found predominant in India. India reports the highest total number of dowry deaths with 8,391 such deaths reported in 2010, which shows that there are nearly 1.4 deaths per 1 lakh women. Through the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961 has banned the practice of dowry, but in reality, the practice and problem still exist. The Act lays down a certain number of preventive and punitive provisions, but the objectives have not been achieved. It is because of the fact that dowry practice is deep-rooted among all the core sections of the society. Now, the characteristics of dowry deaths. Dowry death is most common among middle class women than lower class or upper class. It is most often an upper caste phenomena than lower caste. Before suicide or murder, women face severe harassment and ill behavior from the family members. The most important sociological factor in the causation of dowry death is the offender's environmental stress or social tensions caused by factors endogenous and exogenous to his family, and the important psychological factors in the killer's authoritarian personality, dominant nature, and his personality maladjustment. There is no correlation exists between the level of education of the girl and a murder committed for dowry. The composition of the family plays a very important role in bride burning cases. Second one, it is honor killing. Honor killing is killing of the member of a family due to the belief that the victim has brought dishonor to the family or who has violated the principles of a community or a religion. Reasons such as divorcing or separating spouse, refusing to enter an arranged marriage, being in a relationship or having an association with social groups outside the family that is strongly disapproved by one's family, etc. Now, the characteristics of honor killing. It is the collective nature of the crime where many members of the family plan the act together. It controls an individual's behavior with regard to sexuality by the family as a collective. The stigma associated with losing social status, particularly in tight-knit communities. Perpetrators often do not face negative stigma within their communities because their behavior is seen and justified. Third one is female feticide. Female feticide is the abortion of a female fetus outside of legal methods. The frequency of female feticide in India is increasing day by day. According to the Indian census, the sex ratio in the 0 to 6 age group in India has risen from 102.4 males per 1000 females in 1961 to 104.2 in 1980 to 107.5 in 2001 to 108.9 in 2011. The characteristics of female feticide. There is a strong son preference in India, and this leads to a high sex ratio prioritizing male lives over female lives. Male child is preferred by many because they provided manual labor and success to the family lineage. The selective abortion of female fetuses is most common in areas where cultural norms value male children over female children for a variety of social and economic reasons. A son is often preferred as an asset since he can earn and support the family. A daughter is a liability since she will be married off to another family and so will not contribute to the financial to her parents. Dowry system. The power hierarchy and financial obligation created through this system help perpetuate acts like female feticide and a high. Next type of violence is violence against widows. All widows do not face similar problems. A widow may be one who has no issue and who has been widowed 1 or 2 years after her marriage, or she may be one who becomes a widow after a period of 5 to 10 years and has 1 or 2 small children to support, or she may be one who is above 50 years of age. Widows face the problems of social, economic, emotional adjustment and biological adjustment. A widow's economic dependence is a severe threat to her self-esteem and a sense of identity. The violence against widows include physical battering, verbal abuse, deprivation or sharing the property, abuse by in-laws and children, and so on. The characteristics of violence against widows. Widows who are young are more humiliated, harassed, exploited or victimized than the middle-aged widows. Widows are not aware of their husband's business accounts, certificates, insurance policies and bonds and become easy victims of fraudulent schemes. Violence on widows is mostly committed by the members of the husband's family. Power, property and sex are the crucial factors for widows. Victimization. Property is a crucial factor in victimization in middle class widows. Sex in the lower class widows and power in both the middle class and the lower class widows. Most of the widows are submissive and timid. Now we will know who become victims and which category of women become victims of violence. Globally, 30% of women have experienced physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Adolescent girls, young women, women belonging to ethnic and other minorities, trans women and women with disabilities face a higher risk of different forms of violence. Low education, exposure to violence in childhood, unequal power in intimate relationship, and attitudes and norms accepting violence and gender inequality increase the risk of experiencing intimate partner violence and sexual violence. Women who feel helpless and are depressed. Women who lack social maturity or social interpersonal skills. Women with low self-esteem, low self-image and lack confidence. Emotionally consumed by the perpetrator of violence or who suffer from altruistic powerlessness. Women who live stressful family situations. Women who are economically insecure, who are not socially mature or lack social interpersonal skills face behavioral problems. Women whose husband-in-laws has pathological personalities. Women who are possessive, suspicious and dominant nature. Women whose husbands are alcoholic. Adults who grew up with violence in the home are more likely to perpetrate or experience intimate partner violence. Now we will know who are the perpetrators of violence. Boyfriends and intimate partners are the most common perpetrators of violence against women. Acquaintances such as friends and co-workers of the victim are the second most common perpetrator of violence against women. Sexual assault. More than 50% of sexual assaults, including rape, are committed by a woman's partner. More than 40% of sexual assaults against women are committed by an acquaintance. Approximately 30% of rapes are committed by a stranger to the victim. Second one is stalking. More than 2/3 of female stalking victims are stalked by a current or former intimate partner. Nearly 1/4 of females who are stalked by an acquaintance. Just over 13% of stalking incidents are committed by a stranger to the victim. Third, it is domestic violence. Almost 1/3 of women experiences physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Nearly 80% of women report they are verbally abused by their partner. Approximately 4 million women suffer physical abuse by an intimate partner annually. Now we will know who are the perpetrators of violence against women. Men commit the majority of violent acts against women. There are three major factors that play a major role in prompting men to use violence against a woman. First, perpetrator's history of abuse as a child, unhappy upbringing, physical beating by parents, and emotional rejection, adolescents experiencing emotional distress. Second, perpetrators who have stressful situation in the family, perpetrators who have status frustration. Now we will know what are the causes of violence against women. 5 causes are identified in violence against women. The first one, provocation by victim. The victim sometimes unconsciously tend to provoke the perpetrator by their behavior. Second, it is intoxication. When the aggressor are intoxicated and in a wildly excited and belligerent state of mind, scarcely comprehending, he likely falls for the victim, for example, alcohol-related sex crimes. Hate and hostility towards women. The perpetrators have deep entrenchment feelings of hate and hostility for women, that their violent act could be said to be primarily directed towards the humiliation of the victim. Fourth, is situational urge. In this, the crime is committed because of the chance factor, which creates situations which lead to violence. For example, in wife battering case, the conflict is over money matters or ill treatment of husband's parents may provoke the husband to assault his wife. Fifth, is personality traits. Some violence-prone personalities are extremely suspicious, dominant, aggressive, jealous possessiveness, irrational, upset, etc. Now, what are the phases of adjustment to new life? Victims of violence have to adjust to new life and take up new roles. This process of change involves several phases. According to 𝗪𝗏 and Mukesh Ahuja, there are 4 phases in female victims' adjustment to new life. The phase 1, it is shock and pain. This phase depends on the nature of violence and factors such as age, education, employment, and emotional adjustment. The second phase is removing pain. Second phase depends on support and security provided to the victim of violence. Third phase, avoidance and humiliation. This phase deals with avoidance and humiliation by family members, relatives, friends and associates. Phase 4 is adoption. Adoption takes place through religious conversion, accepting social challenges, neutralization and attachment and identity change. Now, we will know about the various measures to prevent violence on women. The first one is social measure. It refers to improving the general status of women by providing education, providing training and employment opportunities and effective legislative measures. Second one is community interventions. This try to effect change in the individuals and whole communities by addressing gender norms and attitudes. They can include methods to empower women economically and to enlist men as partners against gender-based violence. Providing short accommodation to women, particularly married women who are in distress or victims of violence like rape, abduction, attempt to murder, and helping them to find permanent place by the women organization, which will contribute to alleviate distress suffered by many women. Third one is transformed attitudes, beliefs and norms. It refers to strategies that challenge harmful gender attitudes, beliefs, norms and stereotypes that uphold men privilege and female subordination, that justify violence against women and that stigmatize survivors. This may range from public campaigns, group education to community mobilization effort. Safe environment. It refers to efforts to create safe schools, public spaces and work environments. Next one is volunteer organization intervention. Increasing and strengthening volunteer organization which could take up individual women's problems. Publicize those organizations that would provide legal aid to women so that the needy women could approach them and seek their help and establishment of cheaper and less formal courts and carrying out capacity building workshops on prevention of violence for policy makers. Regulating alcohol availability. Measures to control sales of alcohol, for example, through restriction on alcohol sales, times and location. Next one, increasing alcohol prices. Measures to reduce access to alcohol by raising prices, including through taxation and minimum alcohol price policies. School-based interventions. It helps to address gender norms and equality early in life before gender stereotypes become deeply ingrained in children and youth. A number of initiatives have been developed to address gender norms, dating violence and sexual abuse among teenagers and young adults. This targets both male peer groups and male and female youth together and aim to increase knowledge of intimate partners' violence, challenge gender stereotypes and norms and reduce levels of dating violence. Next one is the media interventions. Public awareness campaigns use mass media to challenge gender norms and attitudes and try to raise awareness throughout society of violent behavior towards women and how to prevent it. Media intervention use television, radio, newspaper, magazines and other printed publication to reach a wide range of people and effect change within society. They aim to increase knowledge, challenge attitudes and modify behavior. Media interventions can also either alter social norms and values that masculinity is associated with aggression through public discussion and social interaction. Media campaigns have proven successful in increasing knowledge of intimate partner violence and influencing attitudes towards gender norms. Now, the government interventions. To promote gender equality, such as laws and policies can also play an important role in the primary prevention of violence. The development of international national legal frameworks that promote gender equality can play an important role in preventing violence against women. Internationally, a number of human rights agreements require states to take measures to eliminate gender-based violence against women. These include the Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. Significant changes are also underway worldwide to strengthen national laws and policies. Among them are laws that criminalize violence against women, that is, intimate partner violence, rape in marriage, trafficking and for prostitution. Laws and policies that support and protect those affected, example, implementing protection orders, child and family protection units, specialized response teams, women's shelters and family courts are improving the response of police and other criminal justice officials towards cases of violence against women and improving women's rights in marriage, divorce, property ownership and inheritance and child support. Change in attitude of parents is also necessary. Parents should help their daughters who are victims of wife battering, domestic violence and other related issues. Violence against women is a grave violation of human rights and its impact ranges from immediate to long-term multiple physical, sexual and mental consequences for women and girls, including death. It negatively affects women's general well-being and prevents women from fully participating in society. Violence not only has negative consequences for women, but also their families, the community and the country at large. Lots of efforts have been put forth by civil society and women's movement in putting an end on gender-based violence, both at national and international agendas. An unprecedented number of countries have laws against domestic violence, sexual assault, other forms of violence. Challenges remain, however, in implementing these laws, further limiting women and girls' access to safety and justice. Not enough is done to prevent violence, and when it does occur, it often goes unpunished. Thank you.